We can edit that out! We can edit that out! Hey! We can edit that out! 1, 2, 3. And we're back! My name's Jack.
I'm Rob.
And we can edit that out, right?
Yeah.
Still
editing that out.
Still editing it out. Still crazy after all these beers.
Season 2, episode 8?
Is it 8 already?
I think so.
All right, cool. So, not too many more until we take a season break, right?
Yeah.
On that note, what have you been doing lately?
You know, more of the use, getting a lot of editing work lately, doing a lot of like video stuff. Going to some shows, hanging out. Mostly hanging out with you. I don't know why you're asking me.
Yeah. Hey, before I forget though, we were going to do German words at the beginning of every episode. Mine for this is Maultasche, which means, literally it means mouth pockets, but that's how you call it dumpling. It's so explanatory, you know? When I saw it, I was like, Maultasche, that means mouth pocket. Oh, like a dumpling. Yeah, okay, that must be dumplings. Cool. You got one?
My word is Aufenthaltstitel.
What?
Aufenthaltstitel is a residence permit.
Okay.
It's the actual name for my visa. My visa expires in like 3 weeks. And because the immigration office in Berlin is so overwhelmed, I can't get my visa renewed until January. So I'll kind of technically sort of be stateless for like a month and a half or something.
Yeah, like that Tom Hanks movie.
Big?
No, the one where he's stuck in the airport.
Philadelphia?
No, I can't remember the name of it.
Terminal.
It doesn't have to be Terminal.
No, The Terminal is the name of the movie.
Oh, okay.
It's like loosely based on a real story. This guy who like got, I don't know, in some sort of weird immigration loophole, and he was stuck in LaGuardia or something for like a long time.
You are kind of the Asian Tom Hanks.
I mean, I'll take it. He's a national treasure.
He is a national treasure. Crazy thing. So anyway, okay, we got the German words now and the German bureaucracy in there, which everybody is fascinated by, you know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, nothing pulls in viewers like talking about
bureaucracy.
German bureaucry. There's a special place in hell. Wasn't that one of Dante's Rings of Hell? Is
the Ausländer Behörde?
Yeah, exactly. Above thieves and petty criminals, and you got the, however you say it. So we went to a concert.
Yeah, we did.
Together. Well, you know, I mean, we go to concerts all the time. We don't often go to them together, you know.
We go to them together all the time. What are you talking about?
I know, but, I mean, people that might think that we go to them together all the time. But, you know, we
do.
I'm just saying we do different stuff sometimes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go to all of your dad rock concerts.
I don't go out of your crying in the dark concerts. You want to go to Sisters of Mercy? Mercy me, no.
Actually, I wouldn't go see Sisters of Mercy now.
Okay. But there was one you went to. I was like, nah, I don't feel like crying in public. Anyway, so we went to the Cockney Rejects, and for those who don't know, they're like an 80s skinhead punk band. What happened? What was the thing? You said, you want to go to the Cockney Rejects? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of on the bucket list of early punk bands that I really want to see. So, yeah, okay, cool. I'll go with you.
I guess when I was a kid, you know, I always listened to them on the periphery.
Yeah.
No gulping.
No gulping. Oh, shit. Okay, well, I wasn't drinking out of my wine cup. Let me show the audience my wine cup. Uh-huh. That's what I do. I was drinking out of my can beer. So I'll put the can beer aside for the break.
Okay, put your can beer
So
away.
bucket list. They're on your bucket.
So like, you know, I listened to them and I kind of liked them, but they were never like this band that I was like fucking crazy about. And then a couple years ago, I went to this Punk and Disorderly Fest in Berlin, which is the sort of annual fest that's basically like the mini version of Rebellion Fest for Berlin. And I would say maybe like 50% of the audience actually flies over from England. And it's like a big, old school 80s, classic punk and oi and street punk and shit.
Yeah, I was honestly wondering, like, how many people here are actually from England?
Yeah, but I saw Cockney Rejects play with Discharge, and Cockney Rejects just blew him out of the water.
Yeah.
And I was just standing there like, wow, like, did I really like did this band just pass me by this entire time and I never really realized it? Or are they just much better in their old age than they were back then? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a football hooligan, so it's like,
yeah,
I'm not like super nuts about that stuff, but they were so fucking fun to watch. And this show was no exception. They were great.
Oh, but you wanted to go see him again.
Yeah.
And you asked me to go with you. And then you had a time frame that you had to be there, and I don't work well with time frames, but you were like, listen, man, I got to be there at this time because I'm on the guest list. And then I had a rethinking of it, like, oh fuck, it's $30, and Rob's on the guest list. He's not paying $30. Why the fuck do I want to pay $30 for this? But I'd already committed to go with you, so I didn't want to, like, be a jerk and back out and go, well, I don't really want to pay $30. Like, okay, cool. Now you're an asshole, But luckily, when we got there, a friend of ours who works there was able to get me in as well. So I didn't have to pay either. So raw for the We Can Edit That Out team.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And when they were playing, I remember looking at you at one point, and I said, sure are a lot of white people here.
It wasn't the most diverse crowd.
Was not. I mean, I will tell you this: not everybody there was white. Besides you, the old skinhead bands really do pick up a hell of a big white following. At least in Western European and American, Northern American areas.
Yeah.
I suppose it's different when they play like Latin America and stuff
Sure.
like that, of course. But energy of the singer was great. It was all over the place.
There was also this guy that was standing next to us with his three friends, and they were very drunk. And I think they were from like Croatia or something like that. But this one guy was so drunk, and he could not stop yelling. And, obviously people yell at shows, and that's fine. Been in this subculture long enough. It's to be expected. But it was like nonstop. He was just like, like the whole fucking time. And, it was kind of hard not to like get a little distracted by it and like laugh, because it's just like, what a weird thing to do at a show.
No, I remember that guy because there was one point where the singer said, this is for the working class, da-da-da-da-da, and the guy next to me yelled oi at the top of his lungs until his voice broke, and it was a long one. And that's when I started to get a little bit like, okay, I'm not like everybody else here. This might not be the safest place I've ever decided to go to. You know what I mean? Skinheads this day and age, they really aren't the racist stereotype that most people think of them. They're just regular guys with short hair for the most part. I feel like, but
it's not like the 90s anymore.
No, it's not. But I had this just like kind of like sensation that kind of hit me of like, okay, maybe it's not safe. You know what I mean? And for some reason, that was kind of exhilarating to me. This day and age, people have sacrificed excitement for safety, to where I think the point where people have become so obsessed with safety that they become kind of lazy and boring. To me, part of the punk scene in the early days was that danger. And that danger was kind of what gave a little spark to the creative fucking output of it and all that shit.
When you say danger, what was the danger?
Well, I mean, you'd go in, you'd never know, you'd go into a concert, you'd never know what was going to happen. Is there going to be a fight? Is there going to be, a rush for the ticket office? I instigated one time. I started a riot at the Rock Candy one time on accident. I didn't really realize it was going to happen, but that's for a different podcast. That's a different story for a different podcast. But you know what I mean? Yeah, that like angst. In German, you'd say angst. That tension. Yeah, that's a better word to say in English. Is the tension when you went into a punk scene, not really knowing how it was going to go off and how it was going to end and how it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and that was part of the excitement. Now you go to a punk show, the band plays, you smoke a cigarette between bands, you have a drink during each band, maybe you have 2, 3, you know, and then the band plays and you're done, and you all decide to, you know, retreat to a bar afterwards. So we wanted to keep drinking after, and we realized that the bar across the street that everybody usually goes to after concerts is just going to be jam-packed with people who might or might not want us there, you know? Because even though, for the most part, skinheads are non-racist, in 2023, there's still an edgy vibe to them. I think that's a polite way of putting it, maybe. There's an edgy vibe of...
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are too. When you're in a similar show in like Arizona or something,
Idaho,
you might have a much different vibe. I mean,
no offense to anyone who's in Idaho.
I've known many skinheads throughout my years in this scene, and overwhelmingly they've all been very kind, nice, awesome people. But I've also known some pretty sketchy motherfuckers as well.
Truth is but that's true in every scene.
It's true.
But I will back you up on the fact that it's kind of a different weight to it in the skinhead scene. And there are many reasons for that. You know, I think if anybody's really interested in skinhead history, they'll look up the Don Letts documentary and how they came out of non-racism, and the National Front turned them into this racist paramilitary neo-Nazi organization. But the skinheads of now, they are going back to before all that, to where they were, you know.
Sure. I mean, there were always non-racist skinheads throughout the entire history of the subculture.
Yeah, of course.
It's just, unfortunately, there's quite a period in the mid 80s up through the 90s where the dominating attention seemed to be placed on very vocal, very violent groups of like racially driven, you know, thugs.
Right. And since that was so vocal, that's what people focus on now when they think about skinheads. When you say skinhead, people think about, Nazi skinhead. It's like, no, that was just a small time in a small place where it was just out of hand. And that's not what we are talking about when we talk about skinheads. We're just talking about, you know, the more traditional skinheads, but still, usually they're bigger guys who don't mind getting into a bit of a fight if there's a bit of a ruckus, which is totally fine to me, but I don't like being the guy in the ruckus.
But anyways, what I was going to say is part of the reason that punks and skinheads sometimes don't find that unity that we all like to sing about in songs is that skinheads can have somewhat diametrically opposing political views. Mm-hmm. Your traditional skinhead might be more inclined to be patriotic. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely, obviously, comes into conflict with sort of the anti-authoritarian flair of punks. And that's oftentimes sort of the ground where I think a lot of arguments and fights will kind of erupt between the two tribes.
Yeah, but it's not a black and white thing.
No, not definitely
because
not at all.
There are many skinheads who are not patriotic. There are a lot of punks that are patriotic.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and it's just like any counterculture. There's the good and the bad.
Yeah, Michael
and the ugly.
Yeah, the shitty middle career singer of the Misfits, Michael Graves. For all of you in Germany who seem to love this era of Misfits, should probably know that Michael Graves is a total right-wing piece of shit who very adamantly towed a very patriotic, conservative political line, personally and in his music.
So people like the music. So that's something that we haven't ever talked about, but it kind of leads into a lot of things that we are going to talk about. Where's the separation of artist and music? You know, of like, well, it's okay. I don't really care about the politics. I just like the music, and it's like, to me, it's like, no.
For me, it kind of boils down to like, are you giving someone money?
Right. Exactly.
You know, like,
but it's not even money. When you play their music, you're putting their intention into the greater realm of the universe and making that, you know, because if people have listened to this episode, they know I'm a hippy dippy trippy, you know. So I feel like if you put something in the universe that is not a good thing, that affects everybody, you know what I mean? So I try and limit that as much as possible, but there's some times where it's like, oh well, the bad brains, HR, you know what I mean?
yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But Burzum, absolutely not. Fuck Burzum. You know that his views are just over the top, fucked up, and I don't care how good his music is. That's just definitely fuck you. And maybe we're turning some people on and turning some people off on this episode, but I think that was kind of our intention with this one. Anyway.
A little bit, yeah.
So show's done. We didn't want to go to the Franken Bar because that was going to be just wall to wall. And we went to a bar down the street, which we thought would be a little more reasonable, easier to navigate. And Milch Bar.
Yep, Milch Bar.
Yeah, which is Milk Bar, which is kind of like a reference, throwback to Clockwork Orange, I feel like. Which is, you know, still giving you that punk thing. Drawing blanks on words here.
It's giving you that punk thing.
Give me that punk thing. Give me some of that punk thing. And we walked in, sat down, and I don't know. I think you got the story from here. I don't really know. I was kind of confused about what was happening until towards the end.
We came in, sat down at the bar, and you know, there was some people, some spillover from the show trickling in. We were seeing like a handful of like, you know, people that were obviously there to go see the Cockney Rejects, and it was a pretty packed show actually. Having some beers, and this semi-disgruntled skinhead gentleman comes in, and it becomes apparent that he has been having some sort of like breakup drama situation with his girlfriend.
Right, because he came up and said, "My girlfriend left me," and I go, "What did she leave you with?" But since he didn't speak that good at English, he had no idea where I was going with that.
Well, he said, meine Freundin hat mich verlässt, which was German for my girlfriend left me. Mm-hmm. But he barely spoke any English at all. I think he didn't really speak any.
But since I was listening, I caught some of the English. Or maybe you were just repeating back to him, and I was picking up on your English.
Something like that. Anyways, he didn't get the joke, and Jack invited him to come sit with us anyways, and we're at like a Stammtisch, which is sort of like an elevated table with stools, and we're sitting there, and he sits next to me, and then he starts like kind of looking me up and down, and you know, usually when you have kind of a big burly drunk skinhead going through a breakup that's like looking you up and down, it could be trouble, you know.
Could go either way.
Yeah, then he asked me if I was gay, and I said, "Oh no, you know, I have a girlfriend, but thank you." And he just sort of stared at me in disbelief and became kind of fixated, and then it sort of got kind of weird because then he got like really close, and he was like putting his hand on my back. I'm like, "Hey, no thanks, you know, it's cool if you're into whatever, like, you know, that's fine, but, you know, not interested, thank you." And it was just it was weird because then he kind of like a switch turned off or something, and then he started fixating on his problems with his girlfriend, and then we realized that his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend or whatever is sitting at the bar like right behind us, and she's like she's like flirting with some guy, and he is getting increasingly more and more upset as the moments go on. And there's sort of a moment where, like when somebody is like that drunk and you can tell they're maybe somewhat prone to violence, like both eyes start kind of like looking in different directions, and there's sort of like this stoic, stony thing going on, and he's just standing there. And I think you tried to like,
I said he got the Mike O'Malley eyes.
oh yeah, oh God.
Anybody from Seattle can, and if Mike's listening, that's just calling him like, cheers to Mike for having these crazy eyes, whatever. When I saw the eyes, I realized like shit's going down. So I grabbed his hand. I was like, okay, by the way, my name's Jack, and what was your name again? I was trying to like talk him back down to reality. When you start throwing names out, people will come back to ground. It helps ground them. I mean, similar to when you're in a hostage situation, you tell the person who took you hostage your name, so you become a person to them. And I was kind of doing the same thing. Not that we were hostages or I was doing that, but I was like just trying to ground him in reality again. Like, hey man, cheers. My name's Jack, and what was your name? And he told me his name. I'm like, okay, cool. And I could see nothing was changing in his eyes. I'm like, we're gonna go.
Yeah.
Because I just don't see this being a good end to this story unless we just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So we left, and as we were talking about it on the street, we were like, what the fuck was that? I have no idea. And the more we talked about it, the more I thought about it. It's like, well, if you broke up with your girlfriend, why would you follow her to a bar just to watch her hit on another guy? I mean, that makes no sense. And for you to hit on another guy as well, that makes no sense either. I don't know in what universe I've ever made a girlfriend jealous by hitting on another guy. They'll just look and go, yeah, cool, whatever. Do your thing,
And then you had the theory that maybe that's their kink.
Maybe that's their kink.
Maybe they can't like get intimate with each other unless they're in the throes of jealousy or something like
some
that.
sort of conflict.
Yeah.
Conflict creates passion, I guess. Or maybe they have a thing where it's like they're fishing for a third in their three-way, and whoever gets it first gets to be the one in the middle. Or on top. That's me. Or what? We have no idea how people's brains work. But a lot of times people have these weird psychosexual things that if you get in the middle of it, then you're kind of either part of it, or you're an asshole if you don't. Or you say like, hey, that's fucked up. Fuck you. That's our thing. Like, oh shit. Okay. So, I mean, I used to work in a peep show for a long time before I became a tattoo artist. And just having worked that for long enough, I realized that no matter what kink you can possibly think of in this world, somebody out there has it. There's 8 billion people on this planet, and everybody's got a different kink. So, like, 8 billion ways to get off, more or less. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Huh. So at the end of the day, we have no idea what was going on there.
It did seem like a weird theatrical performance at some point.
It did.
Though, like...
It did. But like I was saying before, just the danger involved in it did make me feel kind of alive in a weird way. Like, oh, this is my natural element. here's the tiger in his natural element. That was like me, like, okay, danger, and this is where I function like properly,
Well, when I first moved to Seattle, I mean, I saw this to some extent in shows in Boulder and Denver too in the mid '90s, but like there really was like a very palpable sense of danger at some of these gigs.
Absolutely.
And it was really kind of like it was really like a powder keg waiting to go off or something, and I think maybe some of that had to do with there was like less surveillance and less, like not everybody had cameras on them and stuff, and I think it was a lot easier to like get away with like criminality or something back then because there wasn't really so much of an infrastructure for it. And now because everyone's got a camera on them and there's cameras everywhere, there's like literally cameras all over every bar, every street corner, we're in a perpetual state of
I mean, we got cameras on us right now.
I know, right? But I think it might have something to do with it.
I think that's a very good point.
I mean, obviously times have changed too, and I think people are a little more like sensitive to violence than they used to be. Mm-hmm.
But that's not a bad thing. That I would like to say that that's not what I was trying to make out of that. Like violence is cool. That's where I have fun. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying like I don't know, kind of do like the dangerous side of life, and that doesn't have to be violent. Danger and violence are not necessarily the same thing. Sure. But I agree that people are a little more sensitive to violence these days, which is totally fine, totally reasonable.
It's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. Yeah. But I think when people get so sensitive to anything confrontational that they cocoon themselves against it, that's not productive in just the way life is sort of thing. I think there's never good if you shield yourself off from the realities of life,
Oftentimes that comes with a very hefty sense of privilege to be able to be in a position where you can shield yourself from things.
Yes.
And I think that's something to be aware of. It's not always the case. I mean, some people grow up with a lot of trauma and, that kind of stuff triggers some deeply seated stuff inside of them that they haven't really been able to get the tools to equip themselves to fight it off with. So I get all sides of this situation. But in general, I think a little resilience is not a bad thing for a person.
Right. I mean, because whether you like it or not, the world still has physics that happen. People die. Sometimes people die younger than you want them to. Gravity is still an issue, You can cocoon yourself from gravity all you want. Mm-hmm. It's still going to drop, you know what I mean?
Bathrooms with locking doors.
You can cocoon yourself off from reality so much, but reality can still get you. No matter how you cocoon yourself, you can still get fucking cancer in a cocoon, or however you wall yourself off, with all the breakers against the rest of the world, you can still you are still gonna fucking die, and bad shit is still gonna happen to you. The better you can deal with what really happens in life, the easier it will be. You know what I mean? You don't have to expose yourself to all the shitty things in life to get with life, but you can't completely stay away from it either. You can't just live in a bubble, but you also don't have to live in the shit to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like do what's comfortable for you, but don't try and completely sanitize your life just because that is comfortable. You don't always have to live in the comfortable.
Yeah.
Just because it makes you feel better. You know what I mean? And that's my Jackism of the episode.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, but I don't really know where I'm going from there. Now I'm kind of like stuck. I haven't finished my cup of wine.
Let's take a break.
Okay, sounds good. So, smoke break done. We were talking during the smoke break about the fact that we said this episode was going to be about pandemic stories.
True.
And we started the podcast during the pandemic, but we never talked about the pandemic.
Why is that?
Yeah, why was that? I'm throwing it back to you.
I think we established early on that although we are knowledgeable human beings, I wouldn't say we're like experts people go to seek wisdom from. Can't even say it with a straight face. I would feel weird trying to be like, this is Rob's podcast, and, I'm going to tell you about, the history of, like, ancient Sumeria or something,
Or the political nuances of this, that, the other, or anything science-based or anything, yeah. We're not authorities on any subject, and if you want to listen to a podcast about authorities on a subject, this is not it. This is just a couple guys having fun.
I think because of the time we live in, where everyone is kind of screaming, very weighted opinions at one another constantly, I feel like there's plenty of other places you can go for that.
Right.
And our whole concept of this social experiment that we're doing on each other was to create an environment where people can join us in a conversation.
Right.
It's not like we're telling you this is the way things are. It's just we're talking about and trying to understand why things are, I guess.
Yeah. So if you say something controversial, it's engaging to a less select group of, or a more select group of people when you say something controversial. And we kind of wanted to do something that anybody could listen to. Don't give a fuck, just gonna join these guys for a couple drinks and kind of like be a fly on the wall while we're talking to each other,
Sure.
But there is the point of like, what's the line, Well, what's the line of what is controversial and what isn't, and what do we have knowledge of and what we don't, and what do we say and what do we not, I mean, I don't know that much about the skinhead history. We kind of have to gloss over stuff, but why don't we want to get into this? Because part of like the punk ethos is being controversial, So why wouldn't we want to be just a controversial in your face kind of thing, But I think that's more for like the people we don't even want to name or care about.
The way I've approached this, and this is sort of how I try to approach, I think, a lot of things in my life, is I really just approach this with my own personal experience and talking about what my experience in the world is like. I'm not necessarily an expert on anything outside of my own personal experience.
Yeah.
I feel like there's certain things I'm very knowledgeable about, but like when it comes to like sharing stuff, I think it's more about sharing experience and talking about, what our experience was like moving here, what it's like moving to, immigrating into a different culture and surfing around the weirdness that comes along with that and the weird existential dread one goes through during that time.
But do you think that there's inherent quality to social media? Podcasts are part of that. Instagram, Facebook is all part of that. Do you think there is something inherent in that creates divisiveness? Just because it's allowing people to voice their opinion, whether it's relevant or not.
The tricky thing about social media is that it doesn't allow so much the long form communication that it takes to have like a nuanced discussion about things. So social media is dictated by short form communication. Twitter was all just about, initially 180 characters, a very short, concise statement. Social media kind of warped our social discourse into a soundbite driven social discourse, which usually amounts to seeing who can yell the fastest and the shortest.
Right. It's no longer who's the most knowledgeable. It's who has the loudest voice.
Exactly.
But don't you think that was kind of like a ethos of the DIY movement too? It was like giving anybody. I mean, hey, anyone can do it. If you know 3 chords, you can start a band.
Sure.
Cool. So now you've given a voice to anybody, And at first that was super cool because the people who were unheard were saying what they wanted to say, but it escalated to the point where every fucking asshole was saying anything they wanted to say, and it's just like, oh my God, at some point, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Also, there's being confrontational, there's protest, there's standing up for a cause and using your platform to broadcast that, whether that's your band or a podcast or, a book or something like that. But I think while everyone does now have a voice and a platform, I think freedom of speech is sort of a wasted power if it doesn't come with some sort of sense of accountability and responsibility.
This was always my thing with any band I've been in, is it's like, if you're given a mic, you have a responsibility to say something worth being heard.
Sure.
Don't just piss it all away. Don't just say fucking bullshit because you have a microphone. Say something worth being heard, to where I think that has been lost. People are not saying stuff worth being heard. They're just saying whatever the fuck they want, And I think there's a fine line between like freedom of expression and shut the fuck up. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
And
it is all subjective to whoever.
Of course it's subjective.
Whoever's saying it. I would always prefer to have something that was a bit more inclusive. I guess.
Yeah.
Even when I am singing a protest song about a specific thing, you can make a stance against, injustice. You can definitely draw a line between good and evil in a lot of ways. And you can maybe make sure that there's a certain audience that's not welcome in your conversation.
Yeah.
That's also fine. I guess the question is, how far do you always want to go with that? Does it achieve your end goal? If you want to change the world, is completely shutting out everyone that doesn't agree with you the way to achieve that? I guess it depends on the goal. I don't know.
Well, I remember this back from the old days when Nazis would have rallies, and there would be some, like, not any of our group, but there would be some maybe like journalists who would say, like, well, they have a right to free speech. It's like, yeah, of course they have a right to free speech, but I do as well. And maybe my free speech is just a little louder than theirs. And maybe I'm going to yell over the top of them so that they can fuck off, It's like everybody's got a right to free speech, but maybe I just talk a little louder than you because you're an idiot, I don't know. That's a weird way of saying it.
Yeah, I mean, devil's advocate, this is how everybody approaches
everything
these days, because
of course. Granted, but I don't think anybody else will minimize the fact that yell over the top of Nazis, shut them the fuck up, Even though Nazis will say, like, we got a right to free speech. Yeah, cool, but I do too. I have just as much right to freedom of speech when I'm in the crowd to yell over the top of you, If you want to get to brass tacks like that, that's what I would say,
What did brass tacks come from?
Well, brass is a alloy of copper and tin that was discovered in what five? No, no, five. Yeah, about 5,000 BC, and they realized that they could make pretty stuff that stood the test of. Anyway,
Not knowing the answer is also an acceptable answer.
I could have said I don't know, but copper, is it copper? Bronze. What was the bronzes?
Maybe it's like when they. Maybe it's like during. Okay, this is how I would make up the answer to this question. I would say during the war they needed all of the copper to make all the tacks, and since they had to re-divert all of the copper to the war effort, they had to get down to using brass for tacks because they had to have all the other stronger metals used to like make planes and weapons and shit.
But we still have to know what brass is and why they did or didn't want to use it. You know, I don't know. There's bronze, there's brass, and there's bronze.
No, you nailed it.
No, I didn't know.
This is why we don't try to teach anyone anything, by the way.
This is the episode where I completely fall apart. You know what the fuck I've been trying to say? Brass, bronze, copper, huh? What's the difference between brass and bronze?
Maybe it's that you shouldn't try to pretend like you're an expert on something that you don't really know about.
Oh, right. I like that. That is good.
Just saying, for the current climate that we are in right now, I feel like there's a lot of people who are screaming very loudly and declaring their expertise on things that they probably don't really know so much about. And sometimes it's nicer. Not nicer. I don't know if nicer is even the right word. It's more productive to maybe spend a little more time listening and reading.
Yeah,
and learning about stuff.
But that's half the problem is people. Okay, cool. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to all this garbage that everybody's telling me, and it's like, yeah.
But this is the problem. It's like
but we don't act like authorities. So it's like, yeah, listen to us. Just have fun. And when there's all these like very emotional things going on in the world, you can just come to us and listen to a couple guys getting drunk, talking shit, you know. Hey, at the end of the day, isn't that what you want? Yeah.
Is one less productive than the other?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you gave somebody a choice in life, like you want to hang out with a couple guys talking shit, or you want to like get your head spun by bullshit, like I take that. I take the having fun part.
Did you just get bombed all of a second?
I did. Sorry. Okay. Hey, wait a minute. What's going on here?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyway.
Considering how far you watered that wine down, I'm surprised that you're getting that drunk.
Yes, I put water in my wine because I drink everything like it's beer. And that's not a bad thing. I just know that about me. If you put a bottle of tequila right here, I would drink it like it's a beer.
It's true.
That's why I don't put a bottle of tequila right there.
That's why I don't put a bottle of tequila.
I drink everything just as fast as everything else. It doesn't matter what the alcohol content is. It's all gone just as fast. So since I've been trying to drink wine because I'm trying to keep an eye on my big beer belly, I've been drinking wine with water. Sometimes I put lime in the water. Here, there's a controversial thing. I put wine. God, I can't even do it. Okay, I put lime in my wine and water sometimes. Oh, you don't even bat an eyelash? Most people hate that. They go, you put lime in your wine? What the fuck?
At this point, nothing surprises me about you.
I mean, sometimes cayenne pepper too. It's kind of nice. I don't know what is this? What is this like making wine? This holy grail of nothing that can be added to. You know?
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
People add things to wine all the time. Sangria is great.
That's what I'm saying. When people get upset about me putting lime in wine, it's like sangria.
Who's getting upset?
What?
Who's getting upset with you?
Well, Italians.
No, well, Italians.
Matco.
Italians will get mad at anything.
Matco.
And if you take any like Italian ingredient and you try to do something different with it, they'll get mad.
So where are we going with this episode? Now you pointed out that I'm hammered, and
well, I think there's actually something I would like to delve into, maybe in a further episode.
Books.
Like we're talking about how
what were they?
What were they? We're talking about how people don't really like take the time to like learn and read long form stuff to really get like a nuanced perspective on things. And I think it might be interesting to talk about reading and writing.
Yeah, that'd be good. Talk about books.
Talk about books.
Yeah.
Oh,
we had the idea like doing reviews of books in one sentence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do that.
1984. But what month? What? He gives us a year. Why not a month? All right.
That's not really a review.
George Orwell. I can just make fun of people's names all night when I'm drunk, but all right, maybe this is the episode that makes absolutely no sense. Yeah.
Books next time.
Next time, books. Maybe we close this out. Until next time.
Until next time.
I've been Jack. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were Rob. You was robbed by stuff. All right. Do we have to? Oh, we go. Choose. No, we go. Ciao. That's our route. Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
All right. I think I fucked that up big, but
We can edit that out! We can edit that out! Hey! We can edit that out!
Is it recording?
I don't know. Is it?
Come on. Is it recording?
See, I didn't get to say that this time. That's like my thing.
Yeah, but now it's on the plug. Okay. Like and subscribe.
If you like what you hear, please give us a review. Like us and star us on your podcast streaming platform of choice, Apple Podcast, Spotify, what have you. Really helps us out, and we want to know what you think, because sometimes we wonder if we're just screaming into a void, a dark, cosmic void.
Give us a good review.
Yeah, give us a good review, or a bad review, or
no, just good one. Bad reviews, keep them to yourself. Don't give a fuck.
Right.
Come on, give us a good review, or fuck off.
If you've been listening to this point of this episode, you probably like us a little bit. So there you have it.
There you have it.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Same great place, same great station.
We won't see them.
Oh, now you know that we're not going to see them now that they're not viewers?
All right.